Hey guys, my name is Matimio, and today I wanted to bring you a quick little update as to what is going on with Battlefield 4, or what DICE is currently working on the CTE servers. And the first thing that has me excited is that they're tweaking the soldier animation when strafing back and forth. You probably noticed a couple of weeks ago with the big patch update that player movement has been increased. It's more reminiscent of what it was like back in Battlefield 3, and while personally I have appreciated the added agility, I like the fact that it makes it easier and safer to duck in and out of cover, it also has come with some problems. Essentially, it is now impossible to predict where your enemy is going to be at any given time because they have the ability to strafe back and forth with no momentum that needs to be built up. Like, you press the left key, you're gonna be moving over to the left as fast as you can from start to finish, and it makes it challenging to win a firefight where you don't know where the enemy is gonna be at any given moment. And so a strategy that has popped up, because Battlefielders are resourceful, they know what's going on, is that if you're fighting someone, instead of just standing still and making yourself an easy target, people are now strafing back and forth as fast as they can. And while this has been a strategy in first-person shooters since the dawn of time, like, I know that this is not something new to Battlefield or first-person shooters overall, but it has become very obvious, and it's clear that a lot of people are taking advantage of it. And so to give you an idea of what DICE is doing to alleviate this issue, here we have a normal Battlefield server. As you can clearly see, the player is moving very quickly to the left and the right. He doesn't need to build up his momentum in the slightest when he's changing his directions. And I find to be the biggest culprit of this problem is the upper chest and the head of the soldier. If you watch that region, as soon as he changes direction, the animation or the movement of the character is very dramatic. It's jerky, and I think this is the biggest problem that a lot of people are experiencing, is because there's just so much movement of that part of the body. When you're trying to line up a headshot with a bolt-action rifle, it's just ridiculous. Like, there's no way you're going to be able to predict that amount of movement instantaneously. And so here on the CTE server, what it appears that DICE has done is that they've smoothed up that animation, and the upper torso and the head doesn't look like it's moving as much as before, or it's at least a lot smoother than it was in the past. I don't think that they've touched the movement at all. I think everyone is moving just as quickly, but because of that smoother animation, it just feels like things are slowed down a little bit. You can kind of get the gist of where the enemy or where the soldier is going to be moving because of that slight variation of the animation. I'm assuming this is about as good as it's going to get, at least with the way that the current system works. The only way I think that DICE could make it less sporadic or more predictable is to revert the movement system to what it was back before the big patch update a couple of weeks ago. If they slowed or smoothed out the animation even more than it is right now on the CTE, I have a feeling that the animation wouldn't actually line up, or the character model wouldn't line up where the player is on the battlefield. It would be lagging behind a little bit. That doesn't sound like something that many people would appreciate. Like, you're out in the open, you duck behind cover to dodge some bullets, but your character model and your hitbox is still out in the open or lagging behind, and you die because of it. Yeah, that doesn't sound all that great. Personally, I like what they've done with the animation. It's smoother overall. I find that I can line up my shots, and it's a lot easier for me to be consistent with all of my rounds. And hopefully, when this does go live, or maybe if they make some other small adjustments, I can now finally use or feel comfortable using a slow RPM weapon, or even maybe start using the bolt-action rifles once again. Another thing that's worth noting is that DICE is going to be making some adjustments to spawning on your squad mates. Something that is pretty much a staple of Battlefield at this point is where you're about to kill an enemy. You have him in your sights, you know he's all by his lonesome, and it's completely safe for you to pull the trigger. And then all of a sudden, he gives birth to 2 or 3 people that just materialize out of nowhere directly behind him. You're halfway through killing him, you take him out, but then you're like, okay, I didn't account for 3 people to now be directly in front of me. You go for the other, he's got the spawn immunity, and you immediately die. The other side of the coin is when you're spawning on a teammate who you think is safe, at the last second he gets fired upon, you're in there, and now 4 or 5 people are looking at you, and you're dead a half a second later. Each side of the coin essentially sucks. Like, maybe every once in a while you'll get lucky where you spawn on someone and you get a free kill, but it's always at the expense of someone else. This has been an issue in Battlefield forever. Like, you look back at pretty much every Battlefield game that allowed you to spawn on your teammates, it's always been a problem. And so what DICE is doing to solve this is that if you are in combat, either the enemy is shooting at you, you are suppressed, you're shooting at someone, or you're getting knifed, a teammate can no longer spawn on you, at least for 2 seconds. This reminds me a lot of how the spawn system worked in Medal of Honor Warfighter. While that game had a lot of flaws, I found that their squad buddy system was phenomenal. Like, you actually had to communicate with your teammates, or they had to be aware of their surroundings, because if they wanted to be reinforced or they wanted to have some assistance, they needed to stay out of combat for a good while. Like, it was more extreme back in that game. It was a little bit too crazy, but I'm liking the fact that they're adding in at least a variant of that into Battlefield 4. I'm not going to say that it's going to make things super tactical. I mean, I guess you could shoot at an enemy continuously, making it so that he is suppressed, not allowing his squad mates to spawn on in, then allowing everyone on your team to maybe flank in and take him out so he doesn't have that support. I guess that could happen every so often. But because it's only 2 seconds, or they only need to be out of combat for 2 seconds, it probably won't happen very often. But hopefully it will solve a lot of the issues that we already experience on a daily basis in Battlefield, and overall, I think that this is going to be a phenomenal addition into the game. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's little update. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think about these 2 changes. Are you liking the new animation? Do you think that they should just simply revert it back to the old movement system that we had a couple of weeks ago? Let me know down below. But until tomorrow, have a good one, and take it easy.